All right. So last week we were discussing agua, Rosetta Stone. So when we talked about water, it is the most important nutrient. It's kind of that weird, again, creepy rule of three. The rule of thumb is you can survive 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air. That's the rule of thumb. So water is the most important nutrient. It is essential for pretty much every catalyst for every reaction within your body. It's also the heaviest component of the body. Water is found in every tissue, every cell. Remember, we had the cytoplasm, the cytosol. All of that is fluid-based. So we're just basically walking sacks of meat water. If you want to get right down to the basics, we're just walking sacks of hot dog water. That's it. That's what our life can be boiled down to. But knowing that we have this water that is found in different concentrations in different tissues, this gives us an idea and a peek into some of the information that we will be discussing later on, like pet food labels. Pet food labels, we can use our knowledge that water is the heaviest component in the body, and we can add water to the skeletal meat and place it higher in the ingredients list. Just because something is first in the ingredients list does not mean that there is more of that than anything else in the food. What it means is that it's the heaviest. And if I add water to it and artificially inflate its weight, well, then I can put it higher up in the ingredients list. So yeah, there's a lot of really sketchy stuff we're going to talk about when we get into pet food labels. So yeah, it's gonna be Claire, obviously you could do exceptions to every rule. This is like completely without food, like completely no food. I have not eaten anything in 3 weeks, so 21 days, which is also, here's an interesting little fun fact. So you have all these weird survivor shows. What was the last one? It was so stupid. It was so stupid. Oh, the Naked People one.
Naked and Afraid.
Naked and Afraid.
Naked and Afraid.
So funny.
So stupid. It was so stupid.
God, they did so much dumb, I don't know.
No, it was stupid. We just agree it was stupid. But whenever you have any of those survivor shows where they're having to find their own food and they're having to like make their own way, how long are those game shows typically? 21 days.
Yeah.
And that's because that person can get dropped off in the wilderness and be completely unsuccessful and find literally nothing to eat for 21 days before they start going into irreparable tissue damage. Now, are they going to lose a ton of weight? Uh-huh. Are they going to start to get sick? Uh-huh. But it's only at that 21-day mark that we're really looking at damage beyond the point of no return. The water is far more important, because if you go without water for 3 days, your kidneys are going to start to shut down. And once that starts to happen, you get a cascade effect and you're going to go into multi-system organ failure. So water, super important. So we talked about the functions of water. What does it do? Why do we need it? Why is it so important? Well, we know that it affects the blood pressure. Our blood is cells and water. Take away the water, all you have is cells. Well, you can't. Yes and no, Marissa. Okay, so I'm going to say no, unless you purify it. Here's why. So there's a comment saying you can drink your urine. No. That's actually going to be super not good for you. And it's going to, in fact, make you sick much, much faster. The reason for that is, yes, you are urinating out toxins, but you are also urinating out things like, when you get dehydrated, you're going to start losing salt. You're going to start losing different minerals like calcium, potassium, chloride. And how do we lose it? We lose those in our urine.
Place. No, up.
And so plus we have urea, which is what is pee. Well, urea, remember from our amino acids, it's converted ammonia. And so essentially what you're doing is, if you just like pee in a cup and then drink it down, what you're doing is essentially drinking like toxic salt water. And that is in fact going to dehydrate you even faster than if you had nothing. So what I would recommend is, if you do need to drink urine, what you need to do is put it through some sort of water purifier that's going to take out all those excess minerals, and it's going to take out the urea. So that's just my, yeah. They take a lot of artistic license in the movies though, Marissa. Marissa, it's a movie. It's a movie. It is not a documentary. It is a movie.
I couldn't remember. It was a long time ago.
So I'm just saying.
I wouldn't do it. I'm telling you, I would not. I would just dehydrate, honestly.
Yeah. All right, so we know that water is also a thermoregulator. It helps our body temperature, and depending on the species, that's going to occur in different ways. Humans, we use water to evaporate and take our body temperature down. Other animals, you're going to have the panthers, who are still evaporative. It's going to transport some of our gases as well as our solutes. It's going to lubricate our no, Jada, I want you guys to be able to unmute yourselves appropriately if you have a question. So just make sure that if you unmute yourself to ask a question, just make sure you mute yourself back up once you've finished it. So it's going to lubricate joints and eyes. We have synovial fluid. We have tears, which is mucus and fluids. It's going to help our electrolytes. Electrolytes are going to be, remember, molecules that carry a charge. Sodium, calcium, potassium, chloride. These are all examples of our electrolytes. And it's going to be essential for the absorption of our water-soluble vitamins, B complex and C, which is what we're going to talk about today. And then we have organ function, which is specifically our kidneys. We gave the analogy of our kidneys being like a coffee machine, a Mr. Coffee. And if you don't have enough water, you're not going to make the coffee. If you have too much pressure behind the water, you're going to break the machine. Same thing here with the water. So about 84% of our newborn puppy is going to be water weight. It's going to take up about 50 to 60. And for us, it's about the same. About 50 to 60% of our overall weight is water weight. Dogs and cats, we had this very specific dosage. And that's going to be 30 milliliters per pound of body weight per 24-hour period. So this is the specific dosage. How do we lose it? Well, obviously we pee it out. That's probably our biggest loss of water, is going to be in our urine. And really looking at your urine is going to determine how hydrated are you. How often are you, well, I say you, obviously I'm referring to your pets, but this is the same for you. You should be looking at the urine. You should be looking, I know this is gross, guys, but I'm going there. I'm doing it. Everything that comes out of your body, you should look at it. I'm just saying. When you blow your nose, you should look at it. When you clean your ears, you should look at it. When you pee, when you poop, you should look at it. Because this could be your body's first attempt to tell you something's not right. So the volume and the color is the two things that we're going to be looking at. We're also going to be losing water in our feces. Now it's our colon's job to regulate how much water we are losing in our feces. It's going to recycle the appropriate amount, giving us hopefully a nice soft but still solid stool. You know, we talked about pooping before. There's nothing as underrated as having a great poo. We have the losses from our lungs. So every time you breathe out, and we talked about this in regards to the COVID that's going right now. What is happening is as I am talking, water droplets are coming out of my mouth. If you've been in the cold and you're talking, you see the steam, the breath, those are water droplets that are freezing in the air. That's the big danger right now. That's why we wear the mask. That's why we wear the mask. The mask is not for me. The mask is for you. I'm not worried. The mask is not going to stop me from getting the virus. It's not. It's not an N95. It is not a viral rated mask. It's a little piece of cloth that I'm wearing over my face. But what it is doing is stopping the water droplets from dispersing into the air. And those water droplets can travel up to 6 feet, which means technically, if we were back on campus, I'm on stage, some of you are in the front row, you're only about 4 feet away from me, depending on where I'm standing on the stage. As I'm talking, a plume of water droplets is coming out of my mouth. These water droplets can settle onto surfaces and the virus can survive in that water droplet for a period of time. So then when you touch it and then you rub your face, then you get it. So that's the whole point about the mask. It's not to protect me. I wear it because I'm not a huge douche and I am a caring and considerate person, and I am trying to prevent the spread of my droplets to you. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now. We also lose water from our sweat, in our sweat glands. And again, that's evaporative. Do our animals sweat? Do dogs and cats sweat? They do. They do. Not like we do, because we got sweat glands all over our entire bodies. But dogs and cats have sweat glands in the pads of their feet. It's actually really, okay, it's very sad. It's very sad, but it's so cute. So if you have a cat or a kitten or a puppy that's a little bit nervous and you put them on the stainless steel examination table, they'll leave little sweaty paw prints. I know. So we went over the specific dosage. The general dosage for water, they should be drinking 2.5 times the amount of water to the volume of food. So if they're eating a cup of food, they should be drinking 2.5 cups of water. And yeah, Robert, that's all sweat is water and different minerals, specifically salt. Oh. Specifically salts, although we can also lose some potassium. And that's why if you're outside, you're sweating profusely, sometimes your muscles get super weak. It's because you've lost a lot of potassium. And the potassium and the sodium are what make your muscles work. They're actually what transmit nerve impulses from your brain to your muscles to tell them what to do. And if we don't have sodium and potassium because we sweated it all out, then your nervous system starts to shut down. So it's all connected. It's all connected. We talked last week about dehydration, how if an animal has lost 4 to 5% of its overall hydration, so 4 to 5% of the total volume of water that it should have, you're going to start to lose the skin turgidity. And we talked about that's the elasticity, where I pull up on my skin and it snaps right back down. That's good. That's what we should see. If I start losing that turgidity, that elasticity, now when I pull up, it's going to either be very slow to go back down or it will remain tented. At 7%, holy smokes, guys, we're going to have total loss of turgidity. This 7%, I'm going to scruff the cat. And when I let go, my fingerprints are going to stay in the scruff. It's not going to snap back at all. And you're going to start to get the eyes sinking in, because what are your eyes made of? Your eyes are just water jujubes. Your eyes are just like little water balloons shoved into these holes in your face. When I get very significantly dehydrated, they're going to start to sink back into my head. And then at 10%, oh my gosh. Oh my goodness gracious. You're circling the drain at this point. You are in lateral recumbency. You are going to have sludge for blood. You are going to have thick green mucus surrounding your eyes because your tears have no water. Your blood pressure, man, can't even measure it. Your heart, holy smokes, doesn't even know what to do. Your kidneys have shut down. Your mucous membranes have gone tacky because we don't have any saliva. All of the above when you're at 10%. And unless we can get you hydrated very quickly and very safely, you're going to die. It's going to kill you. So hydration, super dangerous. And we talked last week about the packed cell volume, how to run a PCV, and that we're looking at ultimately the total volume of blood cells in comparison to the total volume of blood. From that, we can glean what was the total volume of fluid, because the total volume of blood has to be 100%. You can't go over 100. And so if I subtract the percentage of my cells, what's left over is the percentage of my fluids. And we discussed how this is an inverse proportion. What that means is when one percentage goes up, the other percentage has to go down. You're never going to have a case where both percentages are going up and down, because then you're going to go over or under 100%, and that just doesn't work. And that was the cutest little PowerPoint you ever did see. All right, so what comments, questions, or concerns can I answer to you about agua?
I think Rob had a question in the chat.
You think what? You got all the questions out in the chat?
Rob had a question.
All the questions out in the chat.
Yeah.
Bam, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so now we're going to move on to the second non-energy producing nutrient, our vitamins. And again, use your Big Bertha as supplemental material. I have taken the pertinent kind of broad strokes, big picture stuff out of the textbook, put it into the PowerPoints. But you should, and when somebody at the end of this class is like, we didn't have a textbook for nutrition, and we really needed a textbook for nutrition. Yeah, that's what you sound like in my head, like when you say those things. I'm telling you, and I'm recording this right now. This is Miss Huff on record on this day that I am making a note of. Video record. This is Miss Huff here on Wednesday. What is May? Oh my God, it's May the 27th at 10:31 in the morning. The textbook you use for this class is the Big Bertha, the clinical textbook for veterinary technicians. It is the small companion animal nutrition chapter. It is a supplemental reading. You should be going through your textbook. So now when somebody says there is no textbook with this class, I will bring up this recording and say, no. I say, nay, nay, I told you, and I recorded it. So again, if you should be, at the end of the day, going back through the PowerPoint, but also going through the notes, because there may be some small details in the text that are not in the notes, and you are responsible for those. All right, so what are vitamins? Well, vitamins are probably the thing that we're most familiar with and least familiar with. Here's why. So every CVS, every Walgreens, every Target in the country, every Kroger has an entire aisle vitamin supplements that you can take. They are relatively unregulated, and the problem is that people just take them and they don't really know what they do. If I come up to you in the grocery, Ariel, you just happen to be one of the people on my screen right now. Ariel, I come up to you and I'm like, hey, Ariel, it's so good to see you from 6 feet away at the grocery. I'm so happy to have this time with you. And then I just sort of look in your cart because I'm creepy that way. And I'm like, I see you have a lot of these vitamin supplements. Could you tell me why you're taking these?
The commercial was
Fancy pea makers. Fancy pea makers. So, and I'm not picking on Ariel, but I'm pretty sure if I went to any random stranger in the store and said, I see that you have all of these supplements, can you tell me why? I mean, what do they do for you? They're going to look at me and they're going to have me forcibly removed from the store because it's creepy. But, so that's why I say these vitamins are the thing that we have the most experience with, but the least knowledge about. That's probably a better way to say it. We have the most experience with, but the least knowledge about. So I'm going to teach you all about the vitamins and which ones you are okay to take and which ones are going to benefit you greatly and which ones you got to be a little bit careful about. So what vitamins are what are considered an organic compound. What I mean by an organic compound is that we don't have to break it down in our body. Unlike our proteins, which as we know have to be broken into amino acids, our carbohydrates have to be broken down into sugars, and our fats have to be broken down into fatty acids. Vitamins are already in a form that our body can use. So we don't have any Legos. Vitamins are not made of Legos. Vitamins are just that. They are just these compounds that we are already capable of using. We cannot create them for ourselves. We are going to have to take them in the diet, external gluconeogenesis. We have two categories for our vitamins. We have fat and water soluble. And this, remember the word soluble just means needed in order to use. This is how we transport them throughout our bodies. Fat solubles are going to be A, D, E, and K. ADEK. That's how I remember it, ADEK. I know that's not how you spell deck, but we're going to be spelling impaired, and we're going to spell it D-E-K. When we're going to have a barbecue, we're out on the deck, we're having a lot of fatty foods. That's how you remember ADEK. Now, our water soluble have to be transported with water, and these are going to be B complex. Now, when I say B complex, what I'm referring to is a bunch of different vitamins that are all under the same umbrella. So, so organic compounds don't need to be broken down. They are already in a form that our body can use. They're already, we don't, unlike our energy producing nutrients where we had to break apart the Legos to use them, don't have to do that here. So we have our vitamin B complex and our C. And yes, B12 is one of the B complex. Some of you may be taking a B12 vitamin, a sublingual. It helps to break down fats for energy. We also have B6, which is one that is another very common one, but we're going to talk about some of the others. Those of you that have had children, that you are mummies, and you took prenatal vitamins, one of the big ones that you take are going to be niacin and folic acid. Niacin and folic acid, super important for the healthy growth and development of a fetus. So we're going to talk about the functions and what you might see if you are deficient in any of these. So the fat soluble vitamins, the category in general, we're going to go into the the detail of what each of these does, how does it benefit your body. But just in general, these fat-soluble vitamins require fat. It's not brain surgery. They require fat. They also require bile salts. And remember, bile salts, we talked about the anatomy of digestion. We have bile and bile salts being created in the liver, and then it is concentrated in the gallbladder. It is then sent down the common bile duct, which is the choledochos, to the small intestine. And this is going to be what helps us to transport these vitamins. Now, these are going to be absorbed via passive absorption through the wall of the intestine into the blood. How is that possible? Well, remember, we have the phospholipid bilayer of our cells, and our cells are going to be what are transporting these substances. Fat passes easily through fat. These are fat soluble. They need fat. They are able to very easily enter the fat soluble or the phospholipid bilayer. That means we don't need to have any energy in order to do that. Remember, a million years ago, we were talking about passive versus active. This means no energy required. These vitamins are going to be stored in our adipose, but there is a distinction that I do need to take and make you aware of. I know my sweater is curled up under my thigh and it is bothering me because there. Oh, that's much better. All right. So we've talked about our storage capacity, where I have carbohydrates and I have fats and they're getting stored at an alarming rate. I have to say, still got a little off. I'm gonna be completely honest. Got a little off on the whole exercise thing. Last several days it was terrible weather. I did not go for a walk. I did not do my exercise bike. I have been just a lump of clay. I'm going to get back into it though, because I said I would be accountable to you for it. But unfortunately, what happens when we put stuff into this adipose storage? It gets bigger. I put more in, it gets bigger. I put more in, it gets bigger, until suddenly I'm making a guest, or not even a guest appearance, I'm making a starring role appearance on like my 600-pound life. You know, after this whole quarantine is over, I think we made that joke before. Do I have to contact them? Do they just come get me? I mean, how does it work? Because that guy, I love that show, by the way. Love that show. I love the inspirational ones where it works. Although the ones where they're super angry and they're just cheating all the time, those ones are fun too. They make me feel better about myself. But I love the ones that are just inspirational. And the doctor who does Dr. Now, I think they call him, he's here in Houston, by the way. So convenient for all of us. Just saying, he's right here. Anyway, we do store fat-soluble vitamins in the adipose, but there's a little bit of a difference in the storage capacity. So when I eat the carbs, I eat the fats. There's really no limit, right? I just literally, until my heart stops, my body will continue to just store it. There's no limit to the capacity of fats and carbohydrates that I can store. But if we think about it as a storage unit, the fat-soluble vitamins, their part of the storage unit is a concrete box, right? We have this little safe. And when I'm taking in and storing fat-soluble vitamins, I'm putting them into this little concrete stainless steel safe. I can then pull them from the safe if I need to use them for some function and I'm deficient. I can pull them out. No worries, I can pull them out. But the problem is that when the safe is full, I can't put any more in there. It doesn't grow. That storage unit doesn't get bigger like my adipose storage. This one, when it gets full, suddenly it is, here's an analogy that most of you are going to be very appreciative of. And I think this is one of those commonalities that all of us will have. So I'm pushing in the fat soluble vitamins and I'm pushing and pushing. Suddenly it is the cabinet that you keep your Tupperware in. And so I don't know about you guys, but I got this one cabinet and I just kind of jam the Tupperware up in there. It's not in any category. I don't organize it. I don't even know what's up there half the time. I'm just jamming it. Well, what happens is finally you jam it and then you just quickly shut the door. And then what happens the next time somebody opens the door? It all falls down onto you. That's what's happening here. We're pushing all these and we're shutting the door. And if we continue to have an excess of these vitamins, suddenly now we don't have anywhere to put them. So toxicities, because they're just now going to circulate, they're hard to get rid of, and they're going to accumulate in our blood because the storage unit is full. I can't put any more in there. It's going to start pouring out into my blood. And that's why we see toxic effects much more commonly with these fat-soluble vitamins, much more common than deficiencies. We don't really see the deficiencies because we do have something in a storage unit that we can call upon if needed. So if we over-supplement these, could lead to toxic syndromes. And we're going to talk specifically about what could happen. What are some of the clinical signs? Not so much, Marissa, not so much like case studies, but I'm going to outline specifically what are you going to see clinically in the animal with each toxicity. More is not better, and that is a very important thing to note. We live in a society where we believe more is better. You know, our portions are out of control. The bottle says take 2 Advil. Who really takes 2? Honestly, okay, some of you, I call you liars to your face. To your face, I call you liars to your face. I take 4 at a time. Not that it's gonna work any faster, although subconsciously, I'm sure that's why we do it. We're like, yeah, if 2 works, 4 is gonna work twice as quick. That's not the way pharmacokinetics works, but hey, whatever. As long as you're not doing something to hurt yourself, 4 is fine. 4 is fine. It's not even the maximum dose for Advil. 4 is fine. Vitamins, though, you need to adhere to what the bottle says, because we do come from a culture where more is better. And your owners are going to be in that same mindset where, oh my goodness, I'm giving this because of you know, a health concern, because there are some health concerns that we can resolve with these vitamin supplements. It'll resolve so much faster if I double up the dose. No, it won't. Client education. So more is not better. It is not going to improve the performance. So where can we find common sources of these vitamins? Well, vitamin A, you're going to find this in your fish liver oils, your fatty fish, like your salmon, your pilchard, your tuna, your bluefish, that sort of thing. And yeah, toxicities is just going to make new problems. Absolutely, Marissa, you just nailed it. It's going to totally, now you're treating for one issue, and now you've created a new one, and that's known as an iatrogenic condition. Iatrogenic meaning caused by treatment. We can get vitamin A in certain types of infused milk. Liver. We can get a lot of this stuff from liver. The reason for that is because every nutrient from your digestive system travels to the liver. The liver can either, in the degree of our energy producing nutrients decide, okay, I'm going to convert this into energy to use now. I'm going to convert this into energy to be saved. I'm going to convert this into glycogen, which is pre-converted glucose. The liver does that. That's the bank. But all of these non-energy producing nutrients have to travel to the liver as well. And in this case, the liver is going to decide, okay, well, we're going to target these areas. This is where we're going to send this. This is where we're going to send that. These can go to our limited storage facility. And because all of these nutrients have to travel to the liver, eating the liver is a very, very good source of these nutrients. I'm still not going to eat it. No, nope. Hard nope. Nope. But if you do like liver and onions, that sort of thing, this is a wonderful source for all of these nutrients. And then egg yolks. Vitamin D, again, liver. Got to go to the liver. Some of our fish, egg yolks. Now, I want to make a quick point about this one. You are not getting vitamin D from the sun. You're not getting vitamin D from the sun. So why do I have it in the list? So a lot of times nutritionally, the vitamin D that we're taking in nutritionally is not yet in a form our body can use. Now, it doesn't have to be broken apart. It's not made of Legos, but it's not yet been converted into something our bodies can use. Sunlight is what, in fact, converts the vitamin D into something usable. This is super important for all of us right now because a lack of vitamin D can cause some catastrophic, even if you're taking it in your diet. Okay, I've got the perfect amount. It's amazing. I'm picture perfect. I'm even Steven, but I have not gone out into the sunlight in a month and a half. I don't have it in a form my body can use. And so it's no different than if I was deficient. Holy smokes, everything that is going to happen is terrible. Just put it like that. Everything is bad. It's going to start causing your bones to have issues. You're going to have an imbalance of calcium and phosphorus and magnesium. It's going to cause undue strain and stress on your kidneys. It's going to cause a cascade effect with your ability to use. Yeah, and it's going to affect your ability to produce some of the hormones that we discussed previously. Like, remember, we discussed melatonin, not melanin. Melanin was the color of my skin. Melatonin and serotonin and dopamine were the three primary neurotransmitters that helps to regulate mood, helps to regulate emotion, and that would be why you have seasonal affective disorder. So in the north, when you are having shorter and shorter sunlight days, in Alaska, you go through months where you don't see the sun. And so what you need to be able to do is it's the ultraviolet light in the sun that converts the vitamin D. And so that's why people that live in Alaska, and I actually had a friend well, now she's an acquaintance. I don't really see her anymore. She lived in Alaska for a long, long time. Most Alaskans have a tanning bed in their homes because of the ultraviolet light. They're not trying to get a tan, and they only go in for 10 or 15 minutes. Yeah, they're not trying to get a nice, I just got back from the Caribbean tan. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get that vitamin E converted into usable so that they don't go into this seasonal affective disorder. And it is called SAD. And actually, they did an entire Office episode about it. It was the one where Michael was going to jump off the, spoiler alert, off the building into the bouncy house castle to prove that SAD was actually a pretty dangerous thing. Anyway, if you're an Office fan, you know which one I'm talking about. So if you're feeling sad, you may be deficient. So you may need to intake some vitamin D, some fish, eat some eggs. Eggs are a great source. And then go stand out in the sun for 15 or 20 minutes. Now you do have to have major parts of your body exposed. Okay, now here's what I don't want. And I'm putting this on recording as well. Miss Huff is not telling you to go run around your neighborhood naked. Okay, no. When the cops come and you're like, but my instructor said I was allowed to run around naked because I have seasonal affective disorder. No. I'm not bailing you out. Do not call Mr. Hamilton. That's not going to work. Your arms, just simply pull up your sleeves. Pull up your sleeves. Yeah. Mr. Hamilton. No. Because I'm going to tell him that I already talked to you about this. Because I would be telling you the same thing. I don't need little naked Sterlings running around the parking lot of VTI if we were back on campus. No, I don't. Nope. Pull your sleeves up. If you're wearing your scrubs, pull the scrubs up over your knees. Get the majority of your extremities. No, don't do the little midi shirt pulling your belly out. No. That's okay. Do it in your backyard. You want to do that in your backyard? That's all you. I don't have to see it. But not at school. But sit out at the height of the sun for about 15, 20 minutes. So when I say sunlight, yeah, little naked Sterlings, that just cracks me up. It's just, the mental image just running around. But Mr. Hamilton, Miss Huff said it was okay. Oh, sometimes it's just for me, and that's okay. Anyway, so my whole point is in this distinction, we're not getting vitamin D from the sun. This is not a source. It is converting what we have into a usable form. No, Casey, hard no. I'm just gonna go, no. No, not gonna happen. No, Daisy Dukes, don't cut off the legs of your scrub pants and tell everyone that I said it was okay. Don't show up in cut off scrubs and have a little midi top. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, and you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to do a quick stop share. So corn, which we know is a great fiber, soybeans, different types of oils. And the vitamin K, we're going to find that in green leafy plants. And remember, when we say green leafy, we're talking dark green leafy. We're not talking iceberg lettuce. We're talking about spinach and kale and collard greens. Liver, as with everything else, and then some fish. So those are some primary sources of these different vitamins. All right, so our water soluble is the second category of vitamins. These are transported with water, help from water. This is going to be our B complex and our C. Now, because water and fat don't mix and our cell membrane is made of fat, that's what makes this need an active transport. We do need to have energy to transport these across the phospholipid bilayer in order to be transported around the body. Because as we all know, water and fat don't mix. And so I'm going to need to have some energy to facilitate that. So they are absorbed via active, or meaning we need energy. Now, these are not stored in the body. So we had our little fat-soluble vitamin storage box, little concrete stainless steel safe, packed it in there, shut the door, all is well. We don't have that same capability with these. And so basically what's going to happen is your body is going to use what it needs and gets rid of the rest. So you're going to have to take these in far more frequently because we don't have any storage to depend on if we become deficient. So where we are more likely to see toxicities in the fat-soluble vitamins, we are more likely to see deficiencies in the water-soluble because we're just urinating them out. We're just urinating them out. What this also means, though, I'm going to save you guys a bit of money, save you some cash. You can all get together when we finally have that Sterling potluck and we meet out at a park and we have a lovely social. You know, bring me some either Diet Coke or some blue sodas. Either one is fine with me. So when you start to feel sick, you start loading up on the vitamin C, right? You start drinking the orange juice. You start taking the pills, the airborne, the powder, the emergency. It's like 500 milligrams of vitamin C. Well, here's the thing, is that it's a placebo. It's not, unless you were already deficient, it's not helping you. Your body has only got a static capacity to utilize this vitamin. It's only going to use what it can, and it gets rid of all of the excess. So let me just pull a number out of the air. Let's say, for example, my body can utilize 500 milligrams a day, and I feel myself getting a little sick, and I'm taking like 1,500 milligrams a day. My body is still only going to use 500 milligrams, and it's going to pee out all the extra. So just save your money. Those don't work the way that you think that they're working. And although I'm guilty, I've taken emergency, I've taken airborne. My pee looked really, really yellow and smelled kind of citrusy, but that's pretty much all it did. All right, so for our B complex vitamins, this is the list of the vitamins. So these are all under what we call the umbrella term of B complex. So B complex is the category, and then these are all of the things that contribute to that category. We're going to go through each of these. Thiamine, riboflavin is a B complex. It's used for flavoring. Niacin, again, if some of you have children, you may have been put on some sort of prenatal that had a high amount of niacin. Pyridoxine, pantothenic, biotin. We're going to talk about that because biotin works really well to help with skin, nail, and hair health, but not in the capacity that you guys are using it. You guys are using it wrong. Again, wrong. Folic acid, that's probably the one, especially if you've had children, you know that they put you on a high folic acid diet. They supplemented the holy heck out of you with folic acid because folic acid in growth and development in fetus is essential for proper spine and vertebral growth. And a lack of folic acid during those formative developmental times can cause a condition called spina bifida, where basically the spine is on the outside of the vertebral column and everything is malformed. Cobalamin, choline. So these are all of the vitamin B complex, water soluble. All right, so let me explain what I've done here because now we're going to get in and we're going to start discussing the individual effects of each of these B complex vitamins. On each of these slides, just these ones for the B complex, I have gone through and I have highlighted and will continue to make the points that I think are important. So when we are studying for the water vitamins test, the red highlighted stuff is the stuff that you are going to be responsible for. It's all important. We're going to go over all of it, but this is the stuff that you're going to be responsible for. Although there's one on here that is across the board. Metabolic reactions. Now that is going to be true, and this is, I need you to just put a start, but mainly listen. All non-energy producing nutrients are required for metabolic reactions. What is a metabolic reaction? Let's break this down for a minute. Metabolism, metabolic. How does your body glean energy from the things that you are taking in? Metabolism, remember, is how efficiently does your body utilize and transport the energy you take in from an outside source. Metabolic reaction, how efficiently is your body breaking down those nutrients and utilizing them. And so even though this is a non-energy producing nutrient, this is still required to use the energy producing nutrients. So even though we're not gleaning energy from it directly, it is required, not just thiamine, every vitamin, every mineral, every non-energy producing nutrient is needed for metabolic reactions. Without even one of these, my body can't use the energy producing nutrients. House of cards, house of cards. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Now, as we stated, it's a water-soluble vitamin. It's not going to be stored in the body. Your body's going to use what it needs. It gets rid of the rest. Deficiencies, cardiac disease, neurological disease. The great thing, though, is with our commercial pet foods, we very rarely see deficiencies because it is formulated to provide a complete and balanced diet for our pets. What we do see is in cats. Cats, as we know, are aliens. They have different nutritional needs than any other animal on the planet, and they require 4 times more thiamine in their diet than dogs. Where we start seeing deficiencies is when owners are feeding them like little dogs. Cannot feed a cat like it is a little dog. When you have owners that are sustaining their animals, their cats, on dog food, well, dogs, if they don't need 4 times the amount of thiamine, there's not going to be 4 times the amount of thiamine in the food. Well, duh. Cats needing 4 times the amount are going to suffer a deficiency. So we do see this ventral flexion in animals who have been fed a wrong species diet and homemade diet, the barf diet. If we have owners that are starting to cook for their pets, or we have owners that are feeding an incorrect species diet, that's when we're going to start to see these deficiencies. In our cats, it presents as a ventral flexion of the cervical vertebra. So I'm going now to demonstrate for you. I'm going to back this up. I'm going to now demonstrate for you ventral flexion. That was it. That was it. Ventral, front, flexion, decreasing the angle. That's ventral flexion. This would be dorsal extension, ventral flexion. And basically what we see is the muscles become kind of flaccid. And this can progress, and this can kill them. I do have a picture here showing. So here you got a cat with that ventral flexion. And even if you pull the head up, it's just going to flop right back down. They can't hold their head up at all. Hang on one second. Sorry, I had to speak to she who shall not be named. All right, so the next one is riboflavin, which is B2. Oh, the other thing that I do need you to know, because I'm not even gonna be coy about this. I'm gonna just tell you right off. When I'm testing you over this vitamin, the B complex vitamins, in some questions, I may refer to them by name. In some questions, I may refer to them by number. So that's why I have the name and number highlighted. Here with riboflavin, really it's just needed for utilization of our energy producing nutrients. We're not going to see any deficiencies. And so the only thing I have highlighted for you to be responsible for, the name and number. Because again, I'm going to on the vitamins question so that everybody is not shocked when this happens. Some of the vitamin questions will be referred to by name. Some of them will be referred to by number. So you're going to need to know that B2 is riboflavin and riboflavin is B2. Niacin is B3. Now, dogs do not need niacin in their diet. Cats do. Dogs are able to have niacin formed when they break down the amino acid tryptophan. Remember, tryptophan was the amino acid that gets the bad rap, and then we cleared his name and we're not blaming him for turkey coma anymore. It is, though, an amino acid needed for the building blocks of other proteins. And as we are breaking down those Legos, as we are using those Legos, one of the things that it can be converted into is this niacin. So we don't have niacin in our canine diets. If they don't need it, we don't have to put it in. You know, it's, again, it's not rocket science. If a dog doesn't need A, B, and C, as a pet food company owner, I'm not putting A, B, and C into the food. Cats, on the other hand, do need niacin. And so very important that we would do what? Don't feed cats like they are little dogs. This has a relationship more so in like human medicine, but it is, I know, a VTNE question. Is that a deficiency in this niacin has a relationship to a condition called pellagra. Pellagra is known as black tongue disease. And basically it's super gross. What happens is you start out with ulcers, like canker sores. I don't know if that translates. Do you all know what canker sores are? Like those little painful white bumps on your tongue? Yeah, they're awful. But now imagine you have a ton of them and they're climbing up the inside of your cheeks. We all know how painful a canker sore is. Oh my God. Honestly, is there anything more painful than when you're swishing salt water with a canker sore in your mouth? No, you're gonna die. Now imagine your entire mouth is one big canker sore and it's starting to weep. It's starting to ulcerate. It's starting to get necrotic. Let's use our medical terminology. Necrosis, meaning that the tissue begins to die. Well, when tissue begins to die, it turns gray, it turns black, and that's why this is called black tongue disease. Eventually, it's going to extend out of the mouth, up the cheeks, down the neck, down the chest, and you're gonna get it on on your hands. And so the pellagra is right here. Let me erase all this. So someone's Yennefer, right here. Pellagra is the other name. That's how you spell it. No worries at all. I was talking and I had a ton of crap on this slide. I had to erase it. So niacin deficiency is going to have a relationship with this black tongue disease. Now, it is important to note that this is a primarily human condition, right? I couldn't even find an image, but it's a possibility. And I do know, for whatever reason, that the relationship of a niacin deficiency to pellagra is a VTNE question. It's a pretty common VTNE question. There you go. Here we have a very advanced case of pellagra, and we can see that it has migrated down We have some spots. It's all migrated down and into the hands. So, honestly, Marissa, I've never seen this condition. And other than the fact, this is one of those where I'm trying to prep you as best I can for the VTNE. Other than the fact that this particular, I've had many a graduate, obviously we can't disclose what was on the test. You know, that's illegal. You sign a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, when you take the VTNE. You're promising that you're not going to divulge any of the questions. But I've already taken the VTNE, so I do have students who say, okay, you know, this was pretty common on my test. I'm not using it as a study guide. I'm not compiling the questions. I'm not doing anything unethical. But I like to talk to the students after they've taken it to see how it was. What was it what they expected? And one of the common questions that they say they did get a little stuck on was this. And I'm like, but that's not even really an animal disorder. That's so stupid. But so that's why I'm highlighting it, even though you're probably not going to see it in clinic. You're probably not going to, hopefully, I pray to Groot that you don't suffer from it yourself because it's gross. I still have to teach it to you because it is a common VTNE question. Pyridoxine. Pyridoxine, enzymatic metabolic reactions. That is across the board. I already went over that with the B1. Across the board, they, regardless if it's highlighted or if it's not, if it's a non-energy producing nutrient, it is going to help with the metabolization of energy producing nutrients. So here, similar to our B2, I just need you to know the number. And I know the first thing that you guys are looking at me going, but Ms. Huff, what happened to B4 and B5? There is a B4 and there is a B5, but those are human. Those are not needed in any companion animal diets. So we don't include them in the information. If no animal needs B4 and no animal needs B5, there's no point in me teaching it to you because it's just wasted time. So we skip immediately to B6, which is what we do see needed in our dogs and cats. Pantothenic acid. Deficiencies are rare. It's needed for energy metabolism, and it does not have a B number. He did not warrant a B number. Biotin. Now, biotin is not a true vitamin. Basically, he is kind of a look-alike. We didn't know what other category to put him. He functions most commonly like a water-soluble vitamin. So we just kind of included him in this category, but he's not a true vitamin. What biotin does is it helps to make certain types of protein more readily available in your body. So you take in the protein, the biotin helps your body utilize those proteins. Now, some of you may have heard of the term biotin in your beauty products. There is biotin-infused shampoos. There's biotin-infused facial scrubs. There's biotin-infused nail polish and nail polish removers. Okay, there is even a super duper when the hair salons open back up, which I'm very excited about because I'm kind of tired with this little ponytail thing that I got going on right here. There is a very, very expensive biotin treatment that you can pay for. Some of you may have, and I'm no judgy, you know, I'm all about the self-care. I believe in self-care, especially right now. If you want to do biotin treatment, that's all on you. But it's not working the way that you're thinking that it's working. So essentially with biotin, and so I want to give you the difference between the topical biotin treatments and the nutritional biotin supplements, or using it in your diet. So when you are doing your topical biotin, okay, yes, essentially it is, you know, helping your body utilize the proteins. Your hair, your skin, your nails, the health is dependent on the ability to use these proteins. So you go to the salon and you say, I want this biotin because look, I got the split ends and I've got the frizzes and I just need it to be tame. And you have this very, very expensive treatment, and then it works amazing. Your hair is silky smooth. It looks fantastic. You don't have any of these little flyaways that I always have. I'm a curly girl, as you know, and you never tame it. Never, ever. It never is tamed. Especially, and when you pull it back in a ponytail, you're done for the day. There's nothing else you can do with it. So, but your hair looks phenomenal. But then about 4 to 6 weeks later, what do we start to see? We start to see the little flyaways. We start to see the little curls that I always have. Look at this. There it is. Let's tuck that right back in there. Always have those little curls sticking out. There's nothing I can do about it. Well, what happened? So basically, here's what we did with the topical biotin. Let me give you an analogy. I have here a cup of melted wax. And I have here a piece of yarn. Let me set that down there. So this piece of yarn right here, you can see it's one of those big pieces, and it's one of like a knitting yarn where you can see where it had, let me get a little closer here. You can see that it has all of the little frays that you would normally see on a piece of yarn. So what I'm going to do, carefully so I don't spill it on my computer, is I'm going to take this piece of yarn and I'm going to drip it and dip it into the melted wax. And do that, shake it off a little bit. Do one more. All right. There. So now, let me get up here. Look at that piece of yarn right there. Do you see how now it is smooth? There are no flyaways. I have not cracked, Brittany. I have not cracked. It's called committing to the bit. Every good actor and actress must commit to the bit. So, but can you all visualize what I'm seeing, what I'm saying right now? Of course you can, because I'm committing to the bit. But you can see that it is super smooth. So what I've done, set that over there. So what I've done is I have applied the biotin, but I've applied it externally. And so over time, what's going to happen to the wax on the hair? It's going to start to crack. It's going to start to crumble and fragment off. And then what do I have to do? I have to reapply. Does biotin help? Yes. But if you're applying it on the outside, so in the creams, in the nails, on the hair, it's too late. This is dead. These are dead cells right here. This is where it's kind of gross. So I have this little floofy little rabbit. My significant other calls this my little rabbit tail. It's not a ponytail, it's a rabbit tail, little cottontail. These are dead cells. Can I change or alter anything in a dead cell? Of course not. It's dead. Think of it like a dead person. I now have a dead person sitting in my kitchen. Is anything I apply to them going to make them more healthy? No. And here's, okay, so you know I'm a very visual person. I know all of you are very visual people. Imagine, okay, so the cells that are making a strand of hair, have you ever seen like those Toys the Barrel of Monkeys? and they're little plastic toys, and they hang on to each other, and you make a chain with them. So now imagine a barrel of monkeys with dead bodies hanging off of your head. Oh, that's just a mental image, isn't it? Just a mental image, yeah. Haley, sorry, Haley's dad. All right, so, but basically what I'm saying is anything you apply topically is not going to change. What you're going to need to do is you need to begin change from the inside. And so see how I brought it back? See how I brought it back? So biotin in the diet is going to start affecting change at the beginning, before the cells are in an unchangeable form. And so is biotin good for the utilization of proteins and amino acids? Absolutely. Is it going to affect change if you're doing it on the outside? Nope. Not the way that you think it is. It's a temporary change like the wax on the yarn. So my hope is that I'm saving you a little bit of money, although it's your money, it's your hair. I honestly don't care what you do with it. If you want to go spend $120 on a biotin treatment every 6 weeks, huzzah, yay, bully for you. All right, so that's kind of my spiel about the biotin. Folic acid. So folic acid is super important for fetal growth and development. Deficiencies are really pretty rare, especially in postpartum, meaning after birth. Like as an adult, you're probably not going to see deficiencies. I'm certainly not going to see deficiencies in my companion animals, again, because the commercial diets are formulated for complete and balanced health. I can see anemia. I could see poor growth, especially if we have the deficiency during the growth phase of the life stage diets. But where this folic acid is going to be super duper important is in the pregnant animal who is forming and developing the fetuses. So those of you that have taken the prenatal vitamins, you know they were very high in folic acid. All right, the final B designation, because we didn't have any since B6. Are there B7, B8, B9, B10, B11? Sure. Are they in companion animal nutrition? No. So we don't even need it. Cobalamin is B12. So this is one of the things that we as humans sometimes take. You'll get a B12 injection. And what that does is it helps with your, number one, metabolic reactions. It's helping your body to catabolize and utilize the energy producing nutrients. B12 does this a little more efficiently. So that's why if you are anemic, if you have no energy, you may get a B12 injection, or you may have, some of the supplements are sublingual, where you pour the little dropper under your tongue. I don't know if any of you have done that. I did that. Liquid, and they hold it under your tongue for a bit, and it absorbs very quickly into those very superficial capillary vessels in your tongue. And so this is cobalamin. Now, the thing is about cobalamin is that it is only found in animal products. It is not found in plant sources. And so this is why carnivores and omnivores, this is one of the reasons, we've talked about a million reasons why cats are obligate carnivores, right? You have the arginine, you got the taurine, you got the amino acids. Well, those were amino acids. You have the inability to catabolize their own body tissue, etc., etc. Dogs and humans are omnivores, meaning that nutritionally, we need to glean nutrients specifically from both plant and animal sources. Some nutrients we can get from plants, but other nutrients we can only get from animal sources, and this is one of them. House of cards, house of cards. If you are not taking in your cobalamin, even if every other nutrient is being given in the exact right amount, your body can't use it. Your body is house of cards is falling down. So you are going to need to be supplemented with this cobalamin. Now, I'm not Mr. Hamilton, Miss Huff hates vegetarians. No, that's a lifestyle choice for you. I applaud you. Huzzah. I'm talking about if we have, obviously not a cat, but if we have a dog that has to go onto a vegetarian diet, maybe they have some sort of undiagnosed protein allergy, and we just cannot figure out what protein that they are allergic to, and they're having hypersensitivity, so we're going to put them on a vegetarian diet. We are going to need to supplement them with this B12. Choline goes to the liver, and this is where the liver will synthesize it, meaning choose how to use it. And it doesn't have a B number. And those are all of our B complex vitamins. Do I have any comments, questions, or concerns before I move on to the next water-soluble vitamin? Everybody is bueno? Fantastic. Vitamin C is probably the one that you are most familiar with. It is the one that you have supplemented yourself with at some time. It is the immunity booster. Its fancy name is ascorbic acid. Now, we do not have to include vitamin C in the diets of dogs and cats. Let me repeat that. It does not, it is an important water soluble. It is needed for immunity health. It serves as an antioxidant, which, as we remember, stabilizes free radicals, helps to promote cellular repair, all of the things for why we take it when we're feeling sick. Cats and dogs don't need it in the diet. They still need it, but what they are getting is when their liver is converting their nutrients into glucose, one of the fun byproducts of that is they produce their own vitamin C. So here's where this is kind of funny for me. Is on some pet foods, let me look here. Sometimes it's actually on the package very pridefully. Not this one, those are little cans. So sometimes on the package, there's one in particular that we'll talk about here in the next week or so. It has kind of this weird shield, and it says with added vitamin C. And so the owner, Joe Schmo, is looking at this going, wow, that's great. I know vitamin C is super important, and I don't know why, but I know that I take that myself, and it's super healthy, and I'm going to get this dog food because it's the one ingredient I recognize. Is it going to hurt them that it's added? Of course not. What happens with water-soluble vitamins? You use what you need, you get rid of the rest. It is a marketing scheme. You is right, Haley. Oh my gosh, you guys are going to get so mad when we get talking about pet food labels. Oh my goodness gracious. So it's not going to hurt the animal to add It's going to promote the owner because, again, it's the only ingredient that they recognize and they know that it's healthy. They probably take it themselves. But cats and dogs don't need it because they do get it from the production of glucose. Yeah, stop being excited about having chicken as the #1 ingredient. That means that it is the heaviest, not the most. Yours doesn't have it, Casey. Yeah, I had a can. I know that there's a couple, and all I have right now, I just poured my last bag out, but all I have are these little cans, although these are super expired. June of 2019. So I'm probably going to have to throw those away. I bought them last year, guys. I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy. Why did she keep this? Honestly, I forgot I had them. I bought some of these little guys for Maze because she had dental work done and she had like 13 extractions, including both of her upper 4th premolars, which, as you know, are her major chewing teeth. She actually has no molars in the top. I think she has 1 premolar right behind that first upper premolar. She's got some canines. She's got like 1 incisor. And so post-surgery, she had to eat wet food. So I bought her. She loved these. And then I forgot that I had that last one and it's gone bad now. Oh my God. Look at that monster slide. All right, before you panic, rule number 2 is don't panic. Remember our rules? We went over the rules. Rule number 2, don't panic. This is one of those review slides that I like. This slide, honestly, now, am I saying to do this? Nope. But if this slide is the only thing that you study for the vitamins portion of the test, you're going to do pretty great. Because this slide has every piece of information that you really need. You probably get a passing grade. This is out of your text. Oh, sorry, I got a kink. You can see here, I love this chart. I love this chart. I'm going to marry this chart. Here is the name of the vitamins. This is what they do. This is what happens if you don't have them. This is what happens if you have too much. And so essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go through and I am going to underline on this chart the high points. So honestly, I could have broken this down into like 45 more slides. Or we can do this one and just work off this one. Just kind of, you guys know, I like it when I can consolidate the material for you. You can see down here, here's the division. So these are the water, so H2O. These are the fats. And you can see that what we just talked about with the water-soluble vitamins is also on this chart. So here's our B complex. Now, yes, it does not go into the specifics, which is why I did break those down the way I did. But look at this, metabolic reactions, boom. I told you every single one of them is going to help facilitate getting our energy producing nutrients. It is the biochemical reactions that produce energy. Deficiency. Well, what happens if I don't have them? Well, the easiest thing with these and the minerals, if you can learn what they do, it's going to be pretty common sense what happens if you don't have them. Because if you learn the function and then you don't have it, it's not going to be able to perform the function, is it? You don't have it. So if the vitamin B complex helps to produce energy, well, I'm going to have growth issues. Growth is, holy smokes, a tremendous, tremendous suck on the energy. I'm going to end up with diarrhea. Why? Well, if I'm taking in energy producing nutrients, but I don't have something that I need to use them, where do they go? They've got to be eliminated from the body. And because I have such now a high volume of stuff I can't use, I'm going to be causing the colon to become a slip and slide. It's just going to get rid of it. Emaciation. Well, again, no, duh. I'm going to be losing weight if I can't use any of my energy producing nutrients. Ataxia. I'm not going to have any coordination. I'm going to start falling over. Anemia, dermatitis. So all of the things, all of these are associated with a lack of the ability to use my energy producing nutrients. We know that water-soluble vitamins are relatively non-toxic, right? Our body uses what it needs, it gets rid of the rest. We've all done our best attempt to overdose ourselves on vitamin C. So these toxic effects are going to have a very low toxicity, except right here. I want you to underline this, and I'll re-underline it again tomorrow. We'll re-review. Niacin. Cats are super, super sensitive to niacin. They have such a balancing act with this water-soluble vitamin niacin that toxic, they can end up having convulsions, and it can kill them. They can have death by niacin. They're one of the few species on the planet that can have such a violent toxic reaction to something that is a water base. So they're aliens. These. I gotta move everything now. There we go. And then of course, our vitamin C we talked about, and this is gonna be synthesized from the dogs and cats creating their own glucose, which means that they don't have any deficiencies, they don't have any toxicities, because their body is making it in the exact amounts that it needs. So that's everything we just talked about, but now it's in one nice little localized space. So tomorrow we are going to discuss the fat-soluble vitamins. We're going to discuss all of their functions, their deficiencies, their toxicities. Wow, time flies when we are having fun. Holy smokes. So we got about 5 minutes. Tell me what comments, questions might have.
I had one about the dog food. Like, looking at the ingredients, majority of the time I do see like their first ingredient is like wheat or corn, and then there's some ingredients where I see that it says whole chicken versus chicken meal, which looking at chicken meal, I know that's probably like the grind up version. That's like synthetic kind of.
Not necessarily. All right, let me go ahead. Mute you because I can't hear myself. All right. So Marissa, I'm not going to go into great big detail because we're going to do an entire lecture series over pet food labels and how to interpret them. Basically, what chicken meal is what you're probably seeing. Chicken meal. I would actually prefer a food that had chicken meal versus real chicken. When I say whole chicken, mainly because the big difference between whole chicken and chicken meal is chicken meal doesn't have the water added to it. And so if I have chicken meal very high in the ingredients list, I know that it's not being artificially inflated in the ingredients list by adding water because it doesn't have the water. And so not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, we're going to do an entire lecture series over interpretation of ingredients, interpretation of the pet food labels. What other questions can I answer for you today? All right, so I'm not gonna spend the last 5 minutes beginning fat soluble vitamins. I kind of want to take tomorrow and do it all at once. So so that's where we will get started on tomorrow, is we'll pull up this chart and we'll just start going through it line by line, and I'll tell you the stuff that you'll be responsible for. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of the day, and I will see you all tomorrow morning.
Bye. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.